Okay, so we give a continuation, and we should be able to finish chapter 24 today. Do not hide your lamp under a bushel. And I think we should keep in mind that this is the chapter that we're dealing here, this very end of this chapter. Every time that we read the topic, courage of faith, the healthy does not need a doctor. Keep in mind, what is the chapter here? What is the main chapter? Is it still do not hide a lamp under a bushel? Okay. I don't think we need to go over what this chapter is all about because it's very self-explanatory in the message. But it is from the teachings of Christ, the need for us to share what we have learned, because no one learns from oneself. What each one has gained in terms of intellectual and moral conquests, it came from someone else who was a half a step or a step and a half ahead of us in the pathway of progress and took the time and effort to share with us. So we do carry the responsibility to pass it along to those what we have conquered, the same way that those who had a little more to offer, they did towards us, we have to do the same thing to others. And let's read the health of not a doctor. You can read the whole thing, so I don't.
Okay. The healthy do not need a doctor. Number 11. While Jesus was at the table in the home of this man, Matthew, many publicans and sinners came to join Jesus and his disciples. Upon seeing this, the Pharisees said to his disciples, "Why does your master eat with publicans and sinners?" But upon overhearing them, Jesus answered, "The healthy do not need a doctor, but the sick." Number 12. Jesus addressed mainly the poor and disinherited because they were the ones in greatest need of consolation, and the blind of good faith and humility because they asked to see, and not the proud who believed they possessed the full light and were in need of nothing. These words, like so many others, find their application in Spiritism. Sometimes people wonder why mediumship is granted to unworthy persons capable of making a bad use of it. It seems, they say, that a faculty this valuable should be the exclusive attribute of those of greater merit. Let us first state that mediumship is connected to an organic disposition with which any person may be endowed, just as they have seen, hearing, and speaking. People are capable of abusing any of them through their free will. And if God had granted speech, for example, only to those who were incapable of saying bad things, they would be more mute than speaking individuals. God has given faculties to humans and leaves them free to use them. However, he always punishes those who abuse them. If the ability to communicate with spirits were granted only to the most worthy, who would dare to claim this quality? Moreover, where is the line between being worthy and being unworthy? Mediumship is given without distinction so that spirits may bring the light to all ranks, all classes of society, to the rich as well as to the poor, to the wise, to strengthen them in the good, and to the corrupt in order to correct them. Are not these latter the sick who are in need of a doctor? Why would God, who does not want the death of sinners, deprive them of the help that could pull them from the mire? Good spirits does come to help them, and their counsels, which they receive directly, are of a nature that will impress them more strongly than if they received them by different means. In order to save them the trouble of having to go far in search of the light, the benevolent God places it in their hands. Are they not even guiltier if they do not consider it? Could they excuse themselves for a lack of knowledge when they have written with their own hands, seen with their own eyes, heard with their own ears, and spoke with their own mouth their own condemnation? If they do not take advantage of it, they will be punished with the loss or perversion of their faculty, with evil spirits taking hold of them in order to obsess and deceive them. This will not lessen the real afflictions with which God smits unworthy servants in hearts hardened by pride and selfishness. Mediumship does not necessarily imply habitual communication with high order spirits. It is simply an aptitude that serves as a more flexible or less flexible instrument for spirits in general. Hence, good mediums are not those who communicate easily, but those who are attuned to good spirits and who are helped only by them. It is solely in this sense that the excellence of their moral qualities has complete power over mediumship.
Thank you. So a healthy does not need a doctor. And that implies that there are some who are sick. And who are the sick ones? We can say with confidence that all of us who incarnate in a planet of trials and expiation can be considered the sick ones, which let us know that Christ comes to all of us when he says that he didn't come for the healthy, because the health does not need a doctor. And God and Jesus being the only pure spirit that ever came to this planet, it again reinforces that all of us are in need of some kind of healing from Jesus. Of course, we're speaking of the eternal spirit, and the healing is exclusively all of the moral, right, aspect of the spirit. Healing the moral, it will, by consequence, heal everything else, right? The perispirit will be healed, that will bring health to the physical instrument. If we keep in mind here that the chapter, it do not light a lamp under the bushel, Matthew, the one that makes this, who brought this message from Christ to us, was a publican himself. If you go back to Ezekiel, when Jesus offered to go to have lunch in his house, he transformed himself in that meeting, right? He promised that would share his wealth and give back everything that perhaps they have gained in a not honest way with those. Have Jesus not offered those individuals the opportunity, offer the treatment with his love, with his teachings, perhaps those individuals would not be able to cure. And then the Kardec, naturally inspired by the spirits of light, felt the necessity to put a message of mediumship and of mediums, to demystify mediumship, to demystify medium in association with this topic. Again, a healthy does not need a doctor. because apparently I really did not know or don't know this historic aspect that individuals was making comments in regard to mediums, say why would God give the attribute of mediumship to individuals those does not really seem to be the best users of this tool, of this instrument. Why would Jesus or God not save this tool, this medium, this attribute to the more elevated spirits? And Kardec comes to explain that exactly the objective that mediumship can and should be used as a remedy to many of our illnesses of the soul, of course. That when properly used, it can aid those who have come to the attribute of the mediumship, of the more ostensive mediumship, to learn valuable lessons and process the healing of the eternal spirit. We need to remember that Kardec puts over here that mediumship has a organic component, and therefore anyone may have this attribute. And if God had granted this speech only for those who are incapable of saying bad things, that would be more mute than speaking individuals. Chico used to say, if I would wait until I become more perfected to start to do all the things that I'm doing, I'll still be sitting and waiting, right? The time to start to work is now. It's not when we become better. It's not when we win the lotto. It's not when we retire. The time to be productive is now. The time to start to process the healing of the eternal spirit is now, using the tools that we have at our hands. And those who are being given the opportunity to use the tool of mediumship carries indeed an extra tool on their hands that places on their hand a greater responsibility to make good use of this, but not because they are more elevated than us, and not necessarily less elevated than us. Perhaps just like us that are now being prepared to use this tool. If it's placed in our hand, it's always for good use, for a good reason, and for a good purpose, right? No one is placed here to use bad use of any tools, including mediumship. When Kardec says, if the ability to communicate with spirits was granted only to the most worthy, who would dare claim this quality? Is almost the reverse of when Christ says, who is free of sins may throw the first stone, right? It's almost if you put it in the reverse. Because if someone come and say, only the high or spirits, incarnated spirits, only those who are free of sin, only those who are really good can make use of this tool. Most of the people would shy away from making use of this tool because they recognize that in themselves many errors, many vices. They would feel compelled to say, oh, I'm not worthy of using this tool. So Kardec feels the necessity here to say, no, if you do have it, again, the topic of the chapter, do not hide the lamp under the bushel. If you do have it, it's to be used. If it is for you to put up high to eliminate, to bring light to those around you and to yourself, of course. Because you have to remember, when we talked that last month, that a lamp put high in a house, it is good for everyone, including for the one who has it, including for the one who put up high. You can also see better, and for everyone who is in that house, and even more, even for those who are lost. They may see that light at a distance and walk towards it. So the responsibility of mediumship is like being that light that can provide light to the one who has it, to those around it, and be a light that the others will recognize at a distance and will move towards it. And Kardec places over here, and this is Kardec because there is no, it doesn't say that it's from any of the spirits, it doesn't say the instructions from the spirit, so that is from Kardec. In order to save them from trouble of having to go far in search of their light, the benevolent God places in their hands, are they not even more guilty if they do not consider it? Could they excuse themselves for lack of knowledge when they have written with their own hands, see with their own eyes, heard with their own ears, and spoken with their own mouth, their own condemnation? So the mediums who have this attribute of a moral stance of mediumship, Kardec says here, they are even the God in his infinite love and benevolence even give them the trouble who have to go and looking for that light. The light comes to them through the mediumship. They do receive the messages. They do receive the guidance and the inspiration that they put in words, that they put in books, that they put anywhere else. They must be the first one to use it. There is this very often commented and reminded dialogue of Divaldo Pereira Frank and Joana de Angelis, when he was kind of complaining that Joana would send messages through his mediumship to everyone else, but not dedicated specifically to him. And she reminded him and asked him, go open a book and read any passage. And he goes, open a book, and the words that says you, and Joana reminded him, when I'm giving those messages, I'm giving to you. Now, you write, and you share with others because you want. So the mediums are indeed the first to receive the messages, the inspirations, and they have the responsibility to apply what they receive. And what is the risk? What is the risk is that that same mediumship, that the same tool, the same open channel that can be used by the good enlightened spirits to provide valuable lessons can be also misused. Is that same channel can be used by low order spirits to misguide, to create problems in our lives if we choose. And that's the big thing here, that channel, that means of communication with the spiritual world, we can direct, we can use the dial and dial the symphony that you want, which channel you want. Okay, and if you use that our free will for worse choices, we put ourselves at risk. When the benevolence is there and we merit they can just close it up, that channel. Just take it away from you, prevent you from getting in trouble. If they do decide that you benefit of having those contacts with individuals that you choose to lower spirits as a lesson, then you allow that to happen. So at the very end, Kardec puts over here, hence good mediums are those who communicate easily. I'm sorry. Hence, good mediums are not those who communicate easily, but those who are attuned to good spirits and who are helped only by them. It is solely in the sense that the excellence of the moral qualities has complete power over the mediumship. So being a good medium is exactly to make that choice. Elevate your moral qualities, so you dial the channel towards good, and you close any opportunities of mischieving spirits to make a use of it. I will complete over here that a good medium not only have that ability, but also can be used as a channel to help suffering spirits. Have the ability that in the proper setting, in the proper circumstances, open that channel to receive suffering spirits so they can receive the treatment of the soul naturally. They can receive the guidance, the inspiration, the vibrations of love and peace. They're what happens in mediumship meetings. They are dedicated to receive suffering spirits to guide them. Those are mediums who perform a work of charity of the most higher caliber, being able to sustain the difficulties of the very low vibrations of very dense, difficult energies. Endure that. It is a work of sacrifice for the assistance of those spirits. These will also demonstrate a degree of elevation of those mediums who make a good use of that tool. And naturally, you'll be rewarded with that courage, with that faith, doing that work. Are you open for comments and questions, please? If not, I can move on.
Okay. The courage of faith. Number 13. Everyone who confesses me and acknowledges me before men, I will acknowledge and confess before my Father who is in heaven. And anyone who denies me before men, I will deny before my Father who is in heaven. Number 14. If anyone is ashamed of me and my words, the Son of Man will be ashamed of him when he comes in his glory and in the glory of his Father and all the holy angels. Number 15. Courage of opinion has always been held in great esteem by humankind because there is merit in facing the danger, persecution, opposition, and even the simple sarcasm to which are exposed those who are not afraid to loudly profess ideas that are not the same as everyone else's. Here, as in everything, the merit depends on the circumstances and the importance of the result. There is always weakness in recoiling from the consequences of one's opinions and in denying them, but there are cases where it is a cowardice as great as that of fleeing at the moment of combat. Jesus condemned such cowardice from the special point of view of his doctrine, saying that if anyone is ashamed of his words, he will be ashamed of him or her, that he will deny those who have denied him, that those who confess him before others, he will acknowledge before his Father who's in heaven. In other words, those who are afraid to confess that they are disciples of the truth are not worthy of being admitted into the kingdom of the truth. They will lose the benefit of their faith because it is a selfish faith that they keep to themselves, in which they hide out a fear that it might bring them harm in this world. Whereas those who, placing the truth above their own material interests and proclaiming it openly, work simultaneously for their own future and the future of others. 16. It will be the same for the followers of Spiritism, since its doctrine is nothing other than the development and application of the gospel. Christ's words are addressed to them as well. They sow on earth what they will reap in the spirit life. There they will reap the fruits of their courage or their weaknesses.
Thanks. So courage of faith. The word courage can be broken down into roots, right? The first root, cor, is heart in Latin, and to act. So to act with heart, that's courage. Not with emotion, but with intelligence of the heart. Okay, we should not act on emotions, but we should act with intelligence of our heart. That's courage. We just finished, well, I don't think we finished, the studies in the Spirit's book that deals with suicide. Very dense, very difficult, but very important. And in many of the answers of the Spirits comes back to have courage, to have faith, to undergo the difficult trials without making use of this escape called suicide. The one who have faith, it will be able to be courageous to face all the bad situations in life. The one who have faith, especially for us Spiritists, in a benevolent God, in a eternal life, the one who understands and have faith that each incarnation is one opportunity of better ourselves, and very often the process of better ourselves require some atonement to repair the mistakes of the past. One will have the courage to go through those atonements, to go through those difficulties with the faith, with the reasonable faith that the future is better for those who want to go to those atonements. To have courage of opinion. We all like the person who has the courage to stand up and speak the truth or speak their heart, which we understand that at sometimes may be not appropriate. And we're going to see this in the next chapter. But would not deny it, like Peter did it 3 times, right? They will not hide their faith. You may not be able to stand up and start speaking, but when confronted, will you not deny it? And more important, when given the opportunity, will you put the light up for everyone to see it? To deny the truth is to empower the false, is to empower the faith. To hide the truth is to empower, is to give strength to the false, to the lies. And it is to hide a light under your bush. Again, this is the chapter. Do not hide the lamp under your bush. If you have conquered the understanding of little pieces of the understanding of the truth in reality, understand, not just believe, because somebody may convince you otherwise. But once you understand what you know it. Then you gain the responsibility to share that with others. In the same way that the way that you gained that understand was through the enlightenment of others. You now have the responsibility to pass it along. But one must have the courage. One must have the courage to understand that will not be understood, that they may think that we are weirdos, that we are going against the scriptures that says, do not talk to the dead. That's just an example. And you have to have the courage of faith that what you know, not just believe. That what you practicing, what you are sharing with others, to those who wants to hear, of course, has a strong base foundation in the teachings of Christ, even if other Christian institutions do not agree or even contest it. But you know what it is, that therefore you have your strong opinion and you defend your strongest opinion and you will share in the proper circumstances of it. Because by not doing, then you'll be hiding the light under the bushel or the lamp under the bushel. You'll be empowering the lies, the falsehoods, the dogmas created with the objective to hide that light, to hide that lamp. So it requires courage. But once again, once you have faith, it does provide you that courage. So it's the courage of faith. It's not the courage and faith. It's the courage of faith. Because when you have that faith, when you have that certainty based on reason, based on knowing things, then that faith provides that courage to have an opinion and to express that opinion, to swim against the current. And that applies very strongly for us, Spiritists. It will be the same for the followers of Spiritism, since its doctrine is nothing more than development and application of the gospel. Christ's words are addressed to them as well. So even more for us, who have gained this understand, who had used the tool called mediumship, and here you see the sequence that Kardec puts on his teachings. He first spoke of mediumship, that the medium should put out those messages for us. We are the recipients of those messages. We share the same responsibility as the mediums once we receive them, to go forward with faith, with the courage of faith, to spread this doctrine, which is, just over here, the teachings of Christ in its most simplicity, free of adornations, free of dogmas, free of rituals. It is upon us to share what you have conquered, and again, for those who are willing to hear. Okay, comments, questions? And the last one, to bear your cross is pretty much continuation of the same.
Yeah.
You
Okay.
can go ahead.
Bear your cross. Whoever wants to save his life will lose it. Number 17. You are greatly blessed when men hate you, avoid you, treat you injuriously, and revile your name as evil on account of the Son of Man. Rejoice on that day and exult with joy, because a great reward is reserved for you in heaven. For thus their fathers treated the prophets. Number 18. Calling the people unto him with his disciples, he said to them, if anyone wants to come after me, let him deny himself, take up his cross, and follow me. For he who wants to save himself will be lost, and he who loses himself out of love for me and the gospel will be saved. In truth, what good would it do a man to gain the whole world but lose himself? Number 19. Rejoice, said Jesus, when others hate you and persecute you on account of me, for you will be rewarded in heaven because of it. These words may be translated as, be happy when, because of their ill will toward you, others provide you with an opportunity to test the sincerity of your faith, because the evil they do to you results in your benefit. Therefore, mourn them because of their blindness and do not curse them. Then he adds, let those who want to follow me take up their cross. That is, they should courageously bear the tribulations that their faith will engender. Because those who want to save their life and their possessions by denying me will lose the advantages of the kingdom of heaven. Whereas those who have lost everything in this world, even their life, for the triumphant of the truth, will receive in the future life the reward for their courage, perseverance, and self-denial. But to those who sacrifice heavenly possessions to earthly pleasures, God says, you have already received your recompense.
Thank you. So in this passage here, bear your cross, which all of us has one to carry, right? And Jesus cannot take it away from our shoulders and carry it himself, which we could. He did in a symbolic way, even though he was already pure, symbolizing that with his love, he will help us along the way to bear the weight of our own cross. He showed us that we can do it when needed, and we need it. Even though he didn't have his own cross, he put out the cross of all of us, and he showed it just to show us that if he did it, so can we. Because he told us, you can do all things that I have done and even more. So he came to exemplify exactly that courage of faith, to be able to bear our cross without fear to lose it, our life, because our life is eternal and cannot be lost. But if you seek to preserve the illusion of this physical life, we will lose it. So to bear the cross reinforces our courage of faith. Everything that is good requires some work, requires some kind of sacrifice. It's an example that I always use, and go and ask any Olympic athlete. I'm not even gonna go those who got a gold medal or even a bronze medal, only to merit to reach the level of be an Olympic athlete. It already places you at the highest bracket of athleticism, of physical strength. Ask any one of them what did they had to give up in order to reach that level? How much effort, dedication, time they have to dedicate it to that specific sport that they so well exceed themselves to reach that level of being an Olympic athlete. And you see that it took tremendous amount of effort. It took tremendous amount of sacrifices. Same thing for us to reach the so-called true happiness, or to reach the eternal life, as some used to say, we require some sacrifices. When the young man came and asked Jesus what he need to do to reach the eternal life, Jesus told him, follow the commandments. And which one of them? And then Jesus went through all the decathlon, right? Each one of them. Do not kill, respect your parents, respect the neighbor's wife, and each one of them. And the young man said, well, that I do already. And Jesus answered, so then go get rid of everything that you have, sell all your possessions, come or give away your possession and come and follow you and follow me. That was too much. That was, at that time, at that moment, he was not able to do it. There was one sacrifice that he did not have the courage of faith to do it. Do we? Somebody come and tell you, get rid of everything that you have. Your car, your house, even your spouses and kids, and just come and follow me. Can we? If you just knock on our door and invites us, or say, you have the clothes on your body, that's enough, come and follow me. Can we do it? Do we have that courage? Are we able to sacrifice? Leave all this behind and follow Christ. Luckily, that's not happening to us, because I think definitely I would fail. I don't know. You guys are better than I. But you see, Jesus knows of our limitations. Jesus knows what we are capable and not capable of doing, and not asking from us more than what we can bear. So whatever sacrifice that we face, it is in our ability to do it, to go through it. God does not seek to test us, to test our faith. I really don't believe that Christ places obstacles in our pathway to test us. Living in the world that we live, it's a test in itself. Being where we are, being continually bombarded by all those negative energies that we received throughout the day, is in itself a test of our faith. Our life in itself, in a planet of trial and expiations, is in itself a test of our faith in itself. So much so that it's necessary for us to come here. Because in the spiritual world, we associate primarily those who think like us, who are like us, or at the same level of us, which will be not much of a challenge. But here we do face the challenge. So it's not that God tests our faith, sent things to happen to us to test our faith, but just by being here in itself, we're being continuously testing our faith. We are continuing to have to make decisions of how much faith we have to endure the challenge that we face, to bear our cross. How much faith gives us the courage to go through everything that we need to go through with the conviction, with the certainty that we can, because if we are going through it, it's because we can, and it is for a good cause. That God never allow us to go through anything that not produce something of good to us, in that whatever that thing may be. Okay, I think that is it for me for this chapter. Any comments? If not, we start chapter 25. Seek and you shall find it. It's an interesting chapter because it's quite short. And there is no instruction from the spirits. Everything here is of Kardec. And it's very short chapter. Maybe we'll be able to finish today, maybe. But let's read a little bit.
Okay. Help yourself and heaven will help you. Number 1, ask and it shall be given to you. Seek and you shall find. Knock at the door and it shall be opened to you. For whoever asks receives, and whoever seeks finds, and it should be open to the one who knocks at the door. Also, who is the man among you who will give a stone to his son when he asks for bread? Or if he asks him for a fish, will give him a serpent? And if therefore you, being evil as you are, know how to give good things to your children, it is even more reasonable that your Father who is in heaven will give you good things to those who ask him. Number 2, from the earthly point of view, the maxim, seek and you shall find, is analogous to this one, help yourself and heaven will help you. It is the principle of the law of labor and, consequently, the law of progress, because progress is the child of labor, and labor sets in motion the powers of the intelligence. During humankind's infancy, humans apply their intelligence only to search for nourishment, the means to shelter themselves from the inclemency of the weather, and to defend themselves against their enemies. However, God has given them more than to the animal, the insensate desire to better themselves. It is this desire that drives them to seek out means of improving their situation, which in turn leads them to discoveries, inventions, and to the perfecting of science, because it is science that provides them with what they lack. Through their research, their intelligence expands and their morals become purified. The needs of the body are followed by the needs of the spirit. After physical nourishment, humans need spiritual nourishment, and it is thus that humans pass from the primitive to the civilized state. However, the progress that each person accomplishes individually during his or her lifetime is very little, even imperceptible to many. How then could humankind progress without the pre-existence and re-existence of the soul? If souls departed every day never to return, humankind would be constantly renewing itself with primitive beings, having everything to do and everything to learn. Consequently, there would be no reason for humans to be more advanced today than in the early ages of the world, since with each birth, all intellectual labor would have to recompense. On the other hand, by returning with the progress it has accomplished, and each time acquiring a little more, the soul passes gradually from barbarism to materialistic civilization, and from there to moral civilization.
Thank you. Thank
Okay.
you.
Mhm.
Okay. So seek, I'm sorry. So ask, and it shall be given to you. Seek, and you shall find. Knock, and the door shall open. There is a sequence here, right? And the sequence cannot be changed. You cannot change this order of the sequence, okay? And the sequence is, again, nothing's by choice. Everything is very well thought, even if it, for us, can imagine for the pure spirit. So the sense of the sequence of asking expresses the will, the true will, not the vulgar want, not the desires of the passions, not the desires of fulfilling physical needs. But to ask with the will that controls those passions, that control those human-like desires, material-like desires. The want that is sublimized above the passions, above the material. So ask, and if you do ask, you receive. Because again over here, because Christ continues over here, even among us, if our kids ask for bread, we do not give them a stone. If they ask us for fish, we do not give a serpent. Can you imagine God? But if you do ask for a stone, God is not going to give us. You'll find it. And then seek. Seek here is the law of labor. You wish is elevated. You wish is above the passions. But in order to get it, God provides to you not the thing itself, but the necessary tools for you to reach it. So work, the law of labor. So first you have to want something, and then you need to work for that thing. That you provide all the tools for you to reach, to conquer that. And we are talking about elevation of the 10 spirit, the moral progress of 10 spirits. If you do this first step, we wish, we want, then we work for it. At the end, there is a door. Now, again, the sequence over here. First, we talk about courage. You have to have the courage to knock on that door. And when that door opens, you're going to have the courage to enter it, knowing that you're going to leave things behind, that there are those who will not be able to enter with you, that there are things that we still passions that we carry that we gonna have to leave behind, because once you enter there, you are no longer gonna have access to those things. And that very often we may even want, with an elevated pure thoughts and desires, we may even do the work to get there, but when we get ourselves in front of that door, our faith still not strong enough. We still are somewhat too attached to things that make enter to that door quite difficult. That's why the door is narrow and is not easy access. So in this sequence, that again, we cannot just pick one of them. Now we have to follow that sequence. Is our life, is our existence, basically. To educate our heart to seek, to ask, to want the things that are greater value, and then to work for those things. And when we reach there, to have that courage of faith to grab it, to be strong in faith and courage, to knock when it opens, to enter it. Just recently, and I remember that we saw that in our gospel at home, which we do our daily bread, there is one passage of Emmanuel that does exactly that. And it's 109 I like to read, because we will exemplify everything that we're reading over here. The three imperatives, that's what Emmanuel called it. So I say to you, ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door will open to you. That's from the Gospel of Luke, chapter 11, item 9. And Emmanuel called this ask, seek, and knock the three imperatives. The three imperatives of the recommendations of Jesus were not pronounced without any special significance. With the entangled struggles and depth in our terrestrial experiences, it is crucial that the individual learn to ask for the path of liberation from old conventional suffocating chains, sterile preoccupations, and empty old habits. It is necessary to forcefully and decisively desire to come out of the dark brush in which the majority of individuals lose sight of the eternal interest. So to educate ourselves to the level that now we are going to ask for that liberation, the liberation of the old conventional suffocating chains. And of course, it's talking about the things that attach us to materiality, the teaching that prevents us from saying, okay, I'll leave everything behind and I'll follow you, like the suggestion of Jesus to the young man. We still are chained, incarcerated in our fear of leaving those things behind. The sterile preoccupations, the anxieties, the putting the future, giving the future such a greater significance than the present. And the present is the more important. If you do well in the present, the future is pretty much guaranteed to be well as well. But you have all those preoccupations of what's going to happen tomorrow, what's going to happen later, all these anxieties that we need to ask to liberate ourselves from those sterile preoccupations. I have a little bit of the faith that Jesus mentioned, and this is one of the prophets that mentions the same thing as well, that they'll be more like the lilies of the valley and the birds and the birds in the sky, that they're not saved for the future. They just allow God to provide, to have this faith in divine providence. If you have true faith in divine providence, then we will be free of those preoccupations. It is necessary to forcefully and decisively desire to come out of the dark brush in which the majority of individuals lose sight of the eternal interest. To ask to be free from the things that hold us up here and does not allow us to be in sight and connection with the interest of our life eternal. And he continues, immediately thereafter, it is imperative to seek, work, The pronouncement consists of selective, the procurement, the sick, consists of selective effort. The field is replete with inferior attractions, some of which are full of brilliant suggestions. It is indispensable to locate the dignified sanctifying actions. Many seek dangerous mirages, somewhat like that of the butterfly that becomes fascinated with the brightness of the fire. They approach from afar and gets close to the flames, which consumes the blessings of the body. In the process of seeking, you're going to have to dig for those things that we want. We're going to have to be selective of the path that we're going to take. And that will be along the way a lot of distractions, a lot of things that at the first sight seems to be more interesting, more attractive, more pleasant, definitely more pleasant, that may deviate our wish, may deviate our want, that you may start going in a different direction. To resist all those temptations requires the strength of a character to stick with that what we want, to preserve the objective, which it is this, to reach the eternal life or true happiness, free of the illusions of the happiness based in fulfilling our passions. And he continues, it is imperative to learn and to seek our legitimate goodness. Once the sanctified path is established, the moment has arrived to knock on the door of edification. But without hammering methodically and without the chisel of goodwill, it is extremely difficult to transform the resources of the corporeal life into luminous work of divine art, when looking ahead to spiritual happiness and eternal love. It will matter little to pay without direction, to procure without examination, and to act without an elevated objective. Let us plead with the Father for our liberation from primitive animalism. Let us seek the sublime spirituality and work to localize ourselves within it, in order to become converted into faithful instruments of the divine will. Ask, seek, and knock. This trilogy of Jesus unfolds a special significance for the students of the gospel in all epochs. So I think this passage of Emmanuel clarifies to us what is this that Jesus is suggesting to us. Ask, seek, and knock. Again, that sequence is important. You can knock before you seek or any other way. And the first one seems to be the one that Emmanuel pays the most importance, because it has to do with our will, with the true will, with what is it that we want? Because everything starts from that moment, right? Everything that we have today in this plan, it starts with an idea. If it's in nature, it comes from the desire of God, the wants of God. If it's artificial, it comes from an idea of a person, of a human being. That first they have to thought of it, and then have to desire to to transform that idea into something, and then has to work very hard for it. Most of the time, I have to work extremely hard for it, and we may take many different paths before we get it right, but we start to seek, we start to walk, and that is the importance of reincarnation. That I'm sorry, I closed my book. That Kardec puts on items 2 that I just read here. And everything that is talking about is about reincarnation. Once you get the true desire, you really want to reach the true happiness, and you start to seek, you will require perhaps quite a few reincarnations for us to reach it, right? And it is through repetitions and to trials and errors that we will be able to get there. Thomas Edison had to fail 1,000 times before he was able to get us the electric lamp, right? That make 1,000 mistakes, which he corrected and said they were not mistakes. There was 1,000 ways that I figure out of how it does not work until I get the way it works. And we, collective, evolve through the effort of many. Thomas Edison giving us the electric light was absolutely amazing, extremely important to us. That brings the progress of us as a civilization. But Kardec makes a remark here. However, the progress of each person accomplished individually during his or her lifetime is very little, even imperceptible to many. Which leads to the importance of this continued process of reincarnations, seeking until you reach that door and be able to knock it. And then we start another process. I reach here, but now I have to have the courage to knock. And when it opens, I have the courage to enter and stay there. Don't come out anymore, right? And what Emmanuel is telling us here, that the most important perhaps is the ask. What are you asking? What is it that you want? Do you want bread or you want a stone? Do you want a fish or you want a serpent? God will provide all the tools for you to reach the bread, for you to reach the fish. But along the way, there will be plenty of bread and plenty of snake, of serpents that you're going to have to deviate from. Because we live in this trial, in the world of trials and atonements. Those things are here. It cannot be removed. But you don't have to pick neither the stone nor the serpent. You can continue walk forward until you find the bread, until you find the fish that you seek. And then the door will open, and then we start another phase of our existence. Comments, questions? Okay. No question, can continue.
Okay. Number 3. If God had exempt humans from bodily labor, their limbs would have atrophied. If God had exempt them from intellectual labor, their spirit would have remained in infancy, in the state of animal instinct. This is why God made a labor necessity and said to them, seek and you shall find, labor and you shall produce. In this way, you will be the children of your deeds, and you will derive merit from them, and you will be recompensed according to what you have done. Number 4, it is through the application of this principle that spirits do not come to spare humans the work of research by bringing them discoveries and inventions that are completed and ready to produce, in such a way that they would only have to take what was put in their hands without having to go to the trouble to bend down to pick it up or even to think about it. If that were the case, the laziest individuals could enrich themselves and the most unlearned become wise at no cost, and both will receive merit for what they have not done. No, spirits do not come to exempt humans from the law of labor, but to show them the objective they must reach and the way that will lead them to it, saying to them, press on and you shall arrive. You will find stones under your feet. Look and remove them yourself, and we will give you the strength you need if you wish to use it. Number 5.
Thanks. No, that's good. Thanks. So when you read this passage, one may ask, why can't God just give? I ask for the good things. I ask for the right things. Why can't just give it to me? Why I want this happiness in the eternal life? And Hekadek says, well, that's exactly what God wants for you too. And in a way, has already done it, because the law of progress leads us to spiritual perfection, which it is our true eternal happiness, right? So that's already given. If the law of progress, and you believe in this law of progress, leads us to enter at the level of the Christs, then God already gave it to us. Now, we need to grasp it. We need to get there and hold it. And God's absolute love towards us even provides us other tools to reach there. And one of the tools is the law of labor. Providing us the necessary tools for us to use what God provides. As an example, providing us the arms to work. And if you don't use those arms, you will atrophiate. The law of nature. If you don't use it, you lose it. If you don't lose it for a period of time, it will be extinct. It will forever. Because nature is extremely frugal. It does not spend energy with things that are not being used, which is one of the laws used by Darwin in the theory of evolution, right? Things that are extinct, they are eliminated from the species when they are not being used, or in favor of something that is more efficient, in favor of something that produces greater results. This is progress. And the same thing for us, the eternal spirit. So work is a law. Labor is a law. In order to enter that stage when we are able to knock, we have to do our part, have to do the work. In order to conquer our wish, once you see if it's real, then we are willing and ready to work. If the desire is in accordance with the divine laws, if our wishes is in accordance with the divine laws, then we will be more than happy to follow the divine laws, and which includes labor, okay? And we don't know of any civilization that have progressed without doing a lot of work. And we know that civilizations have crumbled when they deviated their values towards something that was not comparable with the divine laws. It just became extincted in the natural process. It's just the ones that Darwin have taught us. The spirits do not come to exempt humans from the law of labor, but to show them the objective they must reach, and the way that they will lead them through it, saying to them, press on and you shall arrive. So this is a reference of Spiritism. That the spirits did not come here to exempt us from doing what we have to do, but to reinforce the teachings of Christ, because in reality they don't bring anything really new. They just reinforce the teachings of Christ. They just make it easier for us to understand, and therefore place upon us the responsibility to practice even more than the others who are not exposed to this doctrine. That they provide to us, they facilitate to us the means of doing this work that we need to do, the seeking that we need to do, and brings the true mediumship, the testimonium of those who have chose to walk the good path. And you can see in the book Heaven and Heaven, when the section of the happy spirits, and you can also see the testimonium of those who have chosen to walk in the wrong path. So those who become too attracted by the serpent and forget that what they really want is the fish. The consequence of that, when on the section of the suffering spirits in that same book. All right, any questions, any comment? Number 5 it is.
Okay. Number 5. From the moral point of view, these words of Jesus mean, ask that the light may enlighten your way and it will be given to you. Ask for the strength to resist evil and you will have it. Ask for the assistance of the good spirits and they will come to accompany you. And like the angel of Tobit, they will serve as your guides. Ask for good counsel and it will never be refused to you. Knock at our door and it will be open to you. But act sincerely with faith, fervor, and trust. Present yourself with humility and not arrogance. Otherwise, you will be left to your own devices and your failures will be the punishment for your pride. Such is the meaning of the words, seek and you shall find, knock and it shall be open to you.
Okay, we'll stop here. I'm not going to go into the next one. But I think this very short passage is important. That's why I want to read and separate from the rest. Because in like the passage in the Our Daily Bread, item 109, and suggest anyone to read it also. When Jesus tells us to ask, it's not say to just ask whatever we want. To ask what's of value, and to ask to be guided, to direct our wants to what's of value. as Emmanuel said, to liberate ourselves of all the things that impedes us to seek the best, to ask for the best. Ask that the light may enlighten your way, and it will be given to you. Ask for the strength to resist evil, and you have it. Ask for the assistance of good spirits, and they will come to accompany you. And like the angel of Tobit, they will serve as your guide. Ask for good counsel, and they will never be refused to you. Knock, and the door will be open to you. The door will certainly be open to you, and sincerely, the door is already open. But we need to get there. We need to do the right asking, and then have the faith of courage, of the courage of faith, the courage of faith, to apply the law of labor in our life, to work, and then to wait patiently, because we will reach that door. And once you knock, it'll certainly be open to us. But then you have to have the courage to enter. Then you have to know that by entering that, we'll be leaving things behind, and things that we should leave behind, but we're really ready to leave them behind. If you don't have any comments, we can get ready for final prayers.
Just before the final prayer, I post the link of yesterday's presentation by Luis on the chat. Very interesting lecture about the elemental spirits, the spirits of nature. I really recommend for those that missed to watch it. And next Sunday we'll be studying the Medium book, right?
Yeah, yes.
That's it.
Carol, can you make the final prayer, please?
Yes, certainly. Thank you very much, Elmo. That was fantastic. Thank you, John. And thank you, Sarita, for reading. Infinite Creator and Supreme Intelligence, we are grateful today to be together as brothers and sisters for our study of the Gospel according to Spiritism, Chapter 24 and part of 25. We know that we are all in need of healing, especially our spirit and the moral aspects of life. Mediumship is given to all without distinction. This can assist a spirit in learning valuable lessons through free will, and hopefully with good intentions, guidance, and inspired counsel. It is a choice to tune in to the good spirits to assist others, and especially to help the suffering spirits through mediumship. Courage of faith is needed, which is the intelligence of the heart, and to share what has been conquered already. Ask, believe, and receive. Guidance is given as we do our part through effort, intelligence, and discernment. The law of labor provides the necessary tools for us to use. We give thanks to the good spirits, the mentors, the spiritual benefactors who are with us today, inspiring us and guiding us and helping us to receive these lessons on a deeper level. May we receive the love, light, and peace of Christ within us, not only for us, but for our family members, for our teachers, our counselors, our directors, our mediums, workers, and those who are participating. We are grateful for what we have received, and may we continue to receive this love of Christ within us to share as we go forth each day. We know that the world is in great need of greater caring, greater goodness, and greater will to be of service, and we can do our part as we have learned. We pray now for the suffering spirits in the physical world as well as in the spiritual world. Many things are needed at this time, and we pray for inner peace and world peace as well, and that suffering may be alleviated and relieved at least at this time in the right divine timing. We go forth and give thanks for what the blessings today we have received. May we share them, and may we go forth and we humbly ask for safety and protection as we return to family, friends, loved ones, and coworkers. May we remind ourselves to be beacons of light, to be of service on whatever level that we are able to be of service. May we go forth now, shine forth as beacons of peace, of love, of light, of harmony, and of charity and good works. So be it. Thank you.